There's a common thread to this, and I call it secular rationalism. And I think there are the way we can sort of summarize it under three different aspects of it. It's based on, it's the claim that religious beliefs are irrational because they are, one, based on unprovable claims in the sense that they are the sorts of belief that cannot in principle be proven. Two, incontestable claims in the sense that they are the sorts of belief that cannot in principle be falsified. And three, claims that cannot change or develop because they are insulated from the ordinary standards of evidence and rational justification. Okay? It's similar to what the justices said, but a little bit more sophisticated. What's wrong with secular rationalism? Well, we don't have time to present it or to critique it in great detail, so I'm going to kind of give you the highlights and why this fails, and why, in the words of Jeremy Waldron, it's really a travesty. So the first part of the critique, the critique I've titled "Don't Know Much About Theology," or perhaps philosophy as well. First criticism, and this is something that when I read some of this to my philosophy colleagues who don't have a background in law, this first critique is what some of them said, like they couldn't believe that these legal scholars actually offered this analysis of religion without realizing that what they said was on one level incoherent. So the first criticism is this. Let's look at the quote from. I want to go back to the quote from Sherry. In fact, I have it. I summarized it here in Proposition A. Reason necessarily denies incontestable truths. Okay? Reason necessarily denies incontestable truths. Leiter says something similar, right? Although it's a little bit more sophisticated. Gay says something similar as well. But Sherry actually says it the clearest. What's wrong with this? Well, the first question that should cross your mind is this. Is the claim that reason necessarily denies incontestable truth an incontestable truth? Think about it. If somebody were to say to you, "Don't believe anything I say," what would you do? Would you believe it? What if you did, then you would believe what if you didn't believe it, you would deny, right? Either way, you're engaged in holding a belief that is incoherent. It's like claiming you have a brother who's an only child. It doesn't make any sense, right? Or imagine, I saw this years ago. I don't know if anyone still watches the McLaughlin Group. You know the McLaughlin Group? There's a guy named John McLaughlin. I think he's actually a former Jesuit priest. And he hosts this show, and he talks like this: Issue 1, on a scale of 10 to 1, 10 being metaphysical certitude, what would you think of this? And he asks the question. So one episode, McLaughlin says, is the media biased? On a scale of 10 to 1, 10 being metaphysical certitude, is the media biased? And Eleanor Clift, who's a writer for Newsweek, she's from Brooklyn, so she talks like this. She says, "Oh, John," she goes, "nobody can be objective." And without missing a beat, McLaughlin says, "Well, if nobody can be objective, then we should reject what you just said because it's not objective." Pat Buchanan, who's also on the panel. So that's the problem with it, that if in fact, so this has to actually be itself, if this is the foundation or grounding of rationality, right, that reason necessarily denies incontestable truths, then it would seem that this would have to be an incontestable truth, which means what? It's unreasonable. Which doesn't make any sense because it's supposed to ground reason.